Hey everybody, Joe here. Thanks for watching. I just wanted to answer a question a friend sent me. It says, I was wondering how you got involved or found out about transpersonal breathwork. I find it an interesting concept. However, some of the videos I have watched look a tad bit intense. I'm just interested in finding out more about it and becoming more educated on the concept. So I had a couple workshops out here recently in Colorado, and they're both very well received. It seems like it works also in Colorado, just as well as it does in Vermont and in the East Coast. So how I found out about it, kind of a long and long path, but I'll try to make it quick. I ran into a book called Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. It was assigned reading in my Introduction to Philosophy course in college and Plymouth State University. And the professor was David Haight, who's a very interesting guy too. The book kind of gave a general overview of all these anomalous things, tried to give an overview of quantum physics. What is quantum? What does it mean? What is holographic theory? So the concept was that the brain was holographic in nature. So the whole kind of also contains the part. So you could cut out large chunks of the brain, and the brain kind of still works kind of just fine. You still have memories. It's just kind of maybe a little fuzzier. So that kind of thing. So then he goes on to outline all these kind of anomalous situations that say maybe our worldview, scientific, rationalist, mechanist worldview isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Maybe it isn't the be-all, end-all. Maybe reality is pretty weird, weirder than we understand right now, maybe weirder than we can understand. So the one case study that sent me off towards the breathwork direction was a passage about a Czech psychiatrist administering LSD psychotherapy sessions to patients who suffered from trauma and abuse, and addiction. So very, very successful treatment program. The science is all there to prove that it works great. There's no real reason why we need to do the science over. Maps.org for more information on that. So Stan Grof did this research forever. The case study they outlined in the book was just outlandish. It didn't seem real to me, so I wanted to really follow up on it. The story was like kind of a possession-looking experience that he worked through. He said, "Oh, my method is sound. This is kind of a crazy situation, but let's work through it. Let's follow the rules that we've always followed, and things work out." And the person becomes better in the end. It's just like they have to express that stuff in order to come closer to healing. So that's the story. And then I went and looked up books in the library at school. Stan Grof, I think I found Beyond the Brain and a few other books, and it talks about his theories that once you collect 10,000 case histories or examples of this therapy, you start to be able to pull out general theories and structures of things you might see. What he noticed was that the individual kind of is a fuzzy concept. The boundaries of what you think you are as an individual isn't really all that clear. In one of these sessions, you might experience past life stuff that could be validated externally, and there's a number of case studies. He's run into it a large number of times, and people he's worked with also have. The other thing he discovered was the birth, coined and kind of put a framework around. It's called birth perinatal matrices. It's this concept that the birth process is the first time, not the birth process, the whole perinatal process from gestation to birth is like this kind of major foundation for personal psychology. So it's putting down imprints for how you're going to be psychologically for the rest of your life, or at least put the starting framework up for that. So for instance, it's both good and bad. and maybe even stuff that's a little more complex than good and bad. But for instance, a good womb is like an oceanic, heavenly type experience. You're just happy all the time. You're fed. You don't really need to do anything. It's kind of like what people imagine heaven to be like. Now, on the other side, say for example, the mother was having an autoimmune reaction to the baby. Or the mother's just really stressed out all the time. Say they live in a violent part of the city. That kind of high cortisol, high stress, or in the case of the autoimmune kind of thing, you're an organism trying to live and heal in this crazy little world, and you're just constantly getting attacked. So think like a zombie story or something like that, where you're just you're trying to do your thing, you're trying to live, but you're just these waves and waves and waves of things are just endless and they don't stop. So that's a kind of an example of a good and a bad situation. And so the actual birth process itself, you're getting contracted, and it's stressful. It's probably not all that great. So you're feeling pressure, and then all of a sudden there's this like hope once the cervix starts opening up, and you can start passing through there. You can kind of like fight and struggle and escape that crushing pressure into a whole new world. So at the end of that, that can also go good or bad. In my instance, I think I had my mother in labor for 18 hours, and followed by high level of or anesthesia and a C-section. So that's an imprint, a long fight followed by all of a sudden I wake up and I'm a new entity. So you're a semi-aquatic or an aquatic creature, fully aquatic creature that's getting fed automatically, and all of a sudden you kind of die to that and are born again as a air-breathing semi-aquatic mammal now. So you can walk, but you have to breathe, which is a really new thing. So your lungs just kind of open up for the first time. That's going to be quite the experience. So all of these things, and the next number of weeks and months, and even the first few hours are very critical to psychological development of the baby. So that's the other part. So there's the kind of transpersonal aspect, and then there's the perinatal aspect. I probably could have explained them better and shorter, maybe next time. So those are the two things that he kind of developed as major ideas, and worked with Abe Maslow from humanistic psychology to coin transpersonal psychology, and then later develop transpersonal psychology. So from there, Stan became a researcher working in America, working at a Baltimore or Maryland Psychiatric Research Hospital. I think it was in Baltimore, doing the same work, LSD psychotherapy work. And after a number of years, it became illegal due to all the craziness in the 60s. And he was invited out to a place in California called Esalen to write some books. While there, he got exposed, met his wife, and was also exposed to a lot of New Age stuff happening. And he and his wife kind of said, okay, can we synthesize some of that? Because that looks really similar. Like, not New Age necessarily, like actual authentic yoga, authentic shamanism, and cutting edge psychological therapies coming out from all over the world. They were all kind of at this nexus of Esalen on the California coast, the Big Sur coast. So eventually they put together this system of holotropic breathwork, they call it. I'm calling it transpersonal breathwork. So they put together this system, and it is made up of a number of components: powerful music, accelerated breathing, group process. So being in a group is super important. Body work. So there is some of that psychological residue present in your body, and it can kind of be used as a gateway into your psychological stuff, your psychological matter. So it's very, very interesting, very cool, very helpful. I've seen some really amazing things with people with body work during and after breath work. And also expressive drawing. So you'll try to capture the essence of whatever your experience was while doing the breathing on paper. It can just be marks on paper, stick figures, whatever. Doesn't matter as long as you tried to put something from your experience on paper, and then you kind of reflect on that over time, and the experience kind of unfolds over time. So that's a general outline of it. The videos you saw, I think it was by Klaus John, German guy. Those videos are maybe a little over dramatized. So those people looks like have been doing it for a decade plus. They're just really kind of new agey folks that have been really committed to that self-exploration through breath and music, and using holotropic breathwork very seriously. So they're not really the average holotropic breathwork participant. Most people are kind of brand new. Some people decide that maybe I want to do it 5 more times, or they just kind of, if they can make an event, they go and make it, that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily programmatic. It's at your whim. You can go and do more workshops over time. So I hope that gives a little bit of understanding of what it is. To me, it's one of the ways it's most commonly explained is that the whole process is a complex phrase, non-specific amplifier of psychic process. So you can't really control what it's going to amplify, but your body, your psyche knows, okay, we have a little problem over here. Okay, this is a little weak. So it's like whatever's the weakest kind of breaks and comes out to the fore of your consciousness when you're in the breathwork experience. So unconscious material can be unearthed and worked through this whole process. So if you have any more questions, please let me know. I'll try to answer them this way. Thank you for asking. See ya. Bye.